Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the response made by the Completionist, and we're going to be watching Karl Jobst's video. I've heard a lot of weird opinions on this topic, and it seems like there's still quite a few people out there that don't understand what he did wrong and how he benefited from it, so I just want to talk about that a bit in this video.
Last month, I released 2 videos outlining charity fraud committed by the Completionist and his charity, the Open Hand Foundation. Those 2 videos can basically be summed up with 3 main allegations. 1. The Completionist committed charity fraud by making false, misleading statements about what the charity was doing in order to solicit donations. 2. The Completionist stole donations that were supposed to go to the Open Hand Foundation. And 3. The revenue generated by the golf tournament run by Gerard's family was not being sent to the Open Hand Foundation.
So let's just stop and talk about these 3 points really quickly. The first one, the Completionist committed charity fraud. A lot of people are misunderstanding this as he took money directly from the charity and used it to buy things for himself. That's not really what the argument is. The argument is that he was saying the whole time that he was donating to these charities. He kept saying, I am donating to X, Y, and Z charity. And when people hear that, it's going to give people the impression, it's going to give people an impression. That's the thing. People are going to think, oh, he's donating to those charities. That seems like a really good guy. And he could then gain new viewers, new subscribers. He gets like a trickle-down effect from this lie. Karl shows the definition of charity fraud, which is misrepresenting yourself as donating to a charity when you're not. He didn't directly take the money, but he made money as a result. Like, he definitely made money as a result of this lie. So that is the fraud. The fraud is that he was making gains because of what he was saying, and what he was saying wasn't true. Like, he doesn't have to steal any money. Like, forget the golf charity thing. Forget the fact that he might have actually stole money, allegedly. I don't know, but forget even if he did. Even if he did, like, to me, the most damning thing is that for all of that time, he was just saying, I'm donating to these charities. He wasn't, and that was giving him a certain kind of public perception, which he was inevitably gaining money from through views, through subscribers, people watching the live streams. I don't understand how people could argue against this point. All right, let's continue with the video.
These are extremely serious allegations, and to be clear, when I made those allegations, I was being extremely serious. I wouldn't say these types of things without having a very good reason to do so. And now, finally, after almost an entire month, the Completionist has responded, and his response is terrible. It's one of the worst videos I've ever seen. He is manipulating.
YouTube responses should just be like banned at this point. Like, it's a 99% failure rate on people trying to respond to drama.
He lies, he blames everyone else, he provides no relevant evidence, he misdirects, he constructs multiple strawman arguments, and best of all, he threatens legal action against me. Gerard seems to think that just saying you didn't do something means you didn't do it, regardless of whether or not you actually did, and if you say it with enough emotion, it must be true. Initially, this seemed to work, with all of his friends and sycophants exclaiming confidently on Twitter that he had done nothing wrong.
I've seen a lot of people defending him, but all the people that defend him, they don't seem to fully grasp the entirety. Like, there's so many nuances to this. They don't seem to grasp the whole thing. They just think he did not take X amount of dollars and put it into his bank account, therefore he didn't commit fraud. Well, there's more ways to commit fraud than just that.
Wrong, and it was actually Mutahar and I that were the villains, because you see, we aren't experts, and we don't know what we are talking about. I have to admit, when I made my previous videos, I kind of glossed over some of the evidence. I basically assumed that the fraud was so obvious I didn't need to explain, but evidently, this isn't the case. So in this video I'm going.
That's what I said. It seemed so obvious that I was actually really surprised by the amount of pushback they got for making the videos.
Going to respond to Gerard and make it clear that he did in fact commit charity fraud. He did in fact embezzle donations, and the golf money is in fact still missing. First of all, I do need to mention that on the 29th of November, the Open Hand Foundation donated $600,000 to the AFTD. This is a really good thing, and it's great the money everyone else had entrusted to Gerard over the years is finally going to good use. This is a good start, and I hope the rest of the money that the Open Hand Foundation should have received gets donated as well. The opening.
See, this is where a lot of people, they just see, oh, He donated the $600,000, therefore, it was just sitting in a bank account, no big deal. Well, what if this drama had never come up? How much longer would that money have just sat in that account? Another year? Another 2 years? Who knows?
5 minutes of Gerard's video isn't the worst thing in the world. He distances himself completely from the golf tournament, which is probably wise, and he seems to apologize for providing misleading statements. Except he doesn't. He apologizes if you felt that you were misled, and he apologizes for making statements that were potentially misleading. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I'm disappointed that I was not more straightforward regarding the Foundation's timeline for making donations, and that I made statements potentially implying donations were made when they had not yet been. It took too long for clear action to occur, and I apologize for all of this. But such inaction was not done for any selfish or malicious reasons. Most importantly, I want to apologize to anyone who ever donated over the years who felt they were wronged or led astray by any of this.
Gerard is trying to address my first claim, that he made misleading statements and thus committed charity fraud. Gerard does not take much responsibility or own up to this in any significant way. Instead, he says he made claims that were potentially implying that donations were made, and that he was disappointed because he wasn't straightforward enough about the time.
Imagine if you're someone that has a family member or a friend that's afflicted by maybe a certain disease, and he says, I'm going to donate to that charity. So then you donate money thinking that you're helping a specific charity that you want to help. But then it turns out that he wasn't donating the money to that charity, so your money didn't go where you thought it was going. That is definitely misleading.
Timeline. But let's look at what Gerard actually said.
My father, my brother, and I started a foundation called the Open Hand Foundation that raises money for dementia research and treatment.
Well, I just want to pause again real quick because I've heard a lot of people saying this charity has been around for a really long time. He started it when he was a kid or something. He was not a kid. He was in his 20s. He was in his 20s when his mother passed, and they started the charity. But I've heard people saying, well, this charity has been around forever, like since he was a kid, and now he's just part of it. That's not true.
For organizations all over the world. We're soon going to be partnering up with the Alzheimer's Association, currently working with the University of San Francisco, and we're kind of one of their main funding support partners going into all of this.
He said in 2020 that he was currently one of the main funding support partners of the University of San Francisco. This lie is so batshit insane, it's impressive. And keep in mind, the Open Hand Foundation has never given a single dollar to the University of San Francisco. This lie implies many things. It doesn't just mean they give money to the USF, it means they give so much money that it's one of their main funding support partners. It means that Gerard has to know exactly how much money the Open Hand Foundation is giving. He has to know how much money other entities are giving, and then he has to compare the two to conclude that his contributions are large enough to substantiate the use of the word main. This lie cannot happen by accident. And the funny thing about this lie is that right before it, he says they will soon be working with the Alzheimer's Association. This is funny because in this clip from 2020, he name drops two organizations that still to this day have not received a single penny. And of course, we know that Gerard was also saying he worked with organizations big and small across the entire world.
We just, every year, we try and raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with, Alzheimer's Association of America, University of San Francisco, Association for FTD, which is what my mom had, FTD. So we've worked with big and small organizations across the board.
We're raising money for dementia research in honor of my late mom, trying to help folks who've been impacted.
The best way to put it, by propping yourself up with these charities and saying that you're working with these charities, you're giving yourself legitimacy.
Gerard lied about giving money, Gerard lied about working with organizations, and Gerard lied about how the charity was helping victims of dementia, and he was using those lies to solicit donations. This is the textbook definition of charity fraud. Britannica states that charity fraud is a type of fraud that occurs when charitable organizations that solicit funds from the public for philanthropic goals, such as seeking cures for diseases, solicit donations in a deceptive manner, or use the monies that they collect for purposes not intended by the donors. I have definitively shown that Gerard was deceptive and thus have already proven he committed charity fraud. But what about using...
This is what I mentioned in the beginning of the video when I was talking about the definition of charity fraud. Like, an easy way to describe what he did was like a bait and switch. He told you he was donating to this charity, but he didn't. Like, what if he had had another, like, what if he had been saying, I'm going to donate to the brain cancer charity? And then once all the money was in, he decided to donate it to the moped charity that buys people mopeds or something. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the same thing, even though it could be another good charity. He's doing like a bait and switch, if that makes sense. Like that's definitely not good business practice or good charity practice.
Money in a way not intended by the donors. Let's investigate that claim. Now, I never used the word embezzled in any of my videos, but Gerard kept bringing it up and he was adamant that he had not embezzled any money. Not only that, this means all the bits, subs, and all of that extra revenue that Gerard promised us would go to Openhand wasn't sent over either. This is a pretty specific claim. I mean, how on earth would I know that if I was using... Not only that, this means all the bits, subs, and all of that extra revenue that Gerard promised us would go to Openhand wasn't sent over either. By Indieland wasn't going to the Openhand Foundation.
False.
For those who don't know what embezzlement means, it's simple. It means theft
Saying that we are fraudsters, that what
or used for purposes not intended by the donors. I have definitively shown that Gerard was deceptive and thus have already proven he committed charity fraud. But what about using money in a way not intended by the donors? Let's investigate that claim. Now, I never used the word embezzled in any of my videos, but Gerard kept bringing it up and he was adamant that he had not embezzled any money.
saying that we are fraudsters, that what we are doing is illegal and constitutes charity fraud, that we are using my dead mother's name to potentially embezzle money and steal is categorically false.
For those who don't know what embezzlement means, it's simple. It means theft or misappropriation of funds placed in one's trust. With the power of math, I concluded that money from bits, subs, and merch raised by Indieland wasn't going to the Openhand Foundation. And not only...
I will have to say a lot of this stuff is speculative, right? Well, like speculative to a degree. They can only add up what they think should have been there and then try to calculate it. But I mean, these guys have been doing this for a long time and they're big YouTubers themselves. So they probably have a pretty good understanding of how much this stuff would cost versus how much it would bring in.
Not only that, this means all the bits, subs, and all of that extra revenue that Gerard promised us would go to Openhand wasn't sent over either. This is a pretty specific claim. I mean, how on earth would I know that if I was using bad math and missing information, as Gerard asserts?
And these accusations are the result of bad math and missing information.
And yet, I was correct, and Gerard admitted this in his response.
Income from Twitch subscriptions and bits, along with merchandise, have offset some of the production costs. So to say the money is missing is simply wrong.
This was shocking to me. Does Gerard not understand that he is admitting to embezzlement here? To be clear, a charity using donations to cover...
So yeah, he basically just admitted that he used some of the funds that he made from selling his merch, bits, and other things like that to purchase stuff that they required for the charity or the company. But he never said that at the time of taking the money. He never said, some of this will be going toward paying my staff or whatever. He said specifically that it will all go to charity. And just think for a minute, like how hard that would be to keep track of. Because he said, you know, merch, bits, subs, YouTube, like it was almost everything that you could, well, he literally said that almost any way you could monetarily support him would go toward the charities. Trying to keep track of that many like revenue streams and making sure they all go to the right place would be an absolute nightmare. It'd be almost impossible. So to say that some of that money definitely didn't get lost and end up somewhere else, it's almost inevitable that it happened because of the way they did it.
Cover expenses isn't illegal. It's totally normal and common. But that's not what Gerard did. Gerard lied to the public and said that this money was going to charity and that he wasn't touching any of it.
You can do bits, you can do subs, you can actually donate money. If you are more like, I want a material thing, you can do a shirt, you can do a coin, it all goes to charity, it's all great.
See, he said everything. Trying to keep track of all of that would be insane. And like Carl said, he didn't say a portion of that would be going toward what they needed. He said it was all going to charity. I don't know if you guys remember Coney 2012, but it was like this huge charity and a lot of people were donating to it. And then they came to find out that like 80 or 90% of the money wasn't even going to the charity. Like only 10% of the money or 20% of the money you donated actually went to the charity. But they disclosed that information, so there wasn't much people could do about it. In this case, people would have had no idea that was going on. I'm just using a random example here, but imagine if someone told you if you donated $100, that only 60 of it is actually going to make it to the charity. Well, you might put your money somewhere else if that was the case, right?
It's subs, YouTube memberships, or YouTube super chats. Anything that supports us is going to the foundation at the very end.
As a reminder, all bits and subs, including Amazon Primes, go towards the charity as well. So it's all a pass through, all going for a good cause.
Gift subs, memberships on YouTube, super chats, all that goes to the charity as well. And hey, if you want to get a t-shirt, all of the proceeds from the shirt also go to charity.
Your primes, your gift subs,
All of. He specifically said all of.
your bits, donations, all go to charity. We don't take any of it.
Bits and subs on Twitch, memberships, super chats on YouTube, all goes to the cause. If you want to buy an Indieland t-shirt, you can totally
He said it again. All. Everything. He didn't say most or, 99%. He said all.
do that. And for the folks who are in attendance, you can actually go buy one from the lobby. So please go do that. All the proceeds and all those things do go to charity. We don't touch any of it.
And hey, all bits, all subscriptions, and all donations go directly to charity. We're taking none of it. It's all for a good cause.
Gift subs, memberships on YouTube, super chats, all that goes to the charity as well. And
Everything on stream today, whether you're donating bits or subs or donations towards any goals via the Tiltify account, if you buy a t-shirt, anything like that, all the money goes towards dementia research. We make none of it. It all goes for the good cause.
all bits, all donations, all super chats, all YouTube memberships, basically anything that's tied to donating or subscribing in a financial way.
I don't hate this guy in any way either. And I don't think he's a terrible person. But he needs to make it right and admit that there was a mistake. Like, I don't understand how people could watch this, see this information. He admitted that some of the funds went elsewhere in his own response, and people were still just clamoring to defend him.
And not only did Gerard say this many times, it was plastered on screen during the entire event for multiple years. What you need to understand is that Gerard isn't a charity. He is an individual. When you give a bit or a sub to his Twitch channel, you aren't giving money to charity. You're giving money to Gerard. Gerard said, "Give me money in the form of bits and subs, and I will give that money to charity." He told his fans and people that look up to him, "Entrust your hard-earned money to me, and I will give all of that money to the Open Hand Foundation." But you know what happened when everyone gave Gerard their money, assuming it would go to charity? Gerard said, "Fuck you, I've changed my mind. I'm going to spend that money on something else. I'm going to spend that money on something that directly benefits myself." This is again textbook charity fraud and is the literal definition of embezzlement. Some might say, but Carl, Gerard isn't spending money on himself. He's spending money to fund Indieland. But Indieland is Gerard. It's his event, run by his company, streamed on his Twitch channel. Of everyone in the entire world who benefits from Indieland, it's Gerard who benefits the most. He fraud and is the literal definition of embezzlement. Some might say, but Carl, Gerard isn't spending money on himself. He's spending money to fund Indieland. But Indieland is Gerard. It's his event, run by his company, streamed on his Twitch channel. Of everyone in the entire world who benefits from Indieland, it's Gerard who benefits the most. He gets the Twitch followers, he gets the media attention, he gets to mingle with game developers and celebrities, he gets all the credit. And do you really think that everyone who subscribes during Indieland instantly cancels their
I was talking about this before. Like, look at this. He has like A-list celebrities, people following, like what Carl just said. By saying you're attached to these charities, you're propping yourself up and giving yourself legitimacy. So these people are going to work with you. And then who receives all that benefit at the end of the day? The completionist. Because he's going to continue to get those views. Those viewers are going to return. They're going to maybe buy more stuff in the future. Like, he benefits and he makes money off of the fact that he's saying he's donating to these charities. It's indirect, but it's still him making money from saying a lie, essentially.
their subscription the moment it ends? Gerard taking donations to pay for Indieland is not only him spending donations on himself, it's him paying for something that he directly benefits from. We even asked Gerard why he hadn't donated the money, and he said that he only found out recently and that it was not f***ing cool that no money had been donated.
I was made aware in 2021 when the money hadn't moved yet, and that's what made me go, that's not cool, and that's when I got personally involved to move it.
So we asked multiple people from the Open Hand Foundation, and none of them mentioned anything about waiting for a restricted. He found out recently, and that it was not fucking cool that no money had been donated.
I was made aware in 2021 when the money hadn't moved yet, and that's what made me go, that's not fucking cool, and that's when I got personally involved to move it.
So we asked multiple people from the Open Hand Foundation, and none of them mentioned anything about waiting for a restricted donation. Now, a month later, their story has completely changed. Apparently, this was the plan all along. And you know what?
Another argument I've heard a lot is that Jared didn't know the money was there. He didn't know that it hadn't been donated yet. Which, fair enough, maybe he didn't know. But he should have. Because he's a member on the board of the charity. And members of the board have a fiduciary duty to do what's right with the money. Just like a lawyer has fiduciary duties to make sure he does what's best for you. They can't do what's best for them so the lawyer makes more money. They have to do what's best for their client, just like a charity has to do what's best for the donors and whatever else. If he wasn't a member of the board, then he could have said, oh, I didn't know that was going on, and that would make sense. But if you're a member of the board, that's like literally one of your jobs is to know where the money is.
Really interesting, they only donated $600,000. They had more than that amount of money over a year ago in 2022. We're almost in 2024. Isn't it convenient that $600,000 is suddenly enough to be a restricted donation, when over a year ago it wasn't? This hurdle seemed to magically vanish as soon as someone discovered they hadn't donated any money. In fact, I can prove this hurdle never even existed. You can go to the AFTD website right now and choose exactly where your donation goes. You don't need to donate $600,000, and you don't even need to steal donations for 10 years to do it. And the icing on the cake is that when me and Mutaha spoke with Gerard, he outright admitted the only reason they were looking to donate the money now is because he was faced with the prospect of this going public. Yeah, that makes sense.
So as of now, the money, as far as your understanding, that $660,000 roughly, is still sitting in your that charity account, waiting for a benefactor at the right time.
I mean, as of this week, we've been having conversations about moving it as early as today or tomorrow, just because the pressure I got from you guys, if I'm being quite honest. Not that I was trying to save face, but like, this is a private fight that I've been dealing with for months with my family, and I even told my family, hey, this is the last Indieland I'm ever going to do, because this is the 10th year anniversary of my mom's passing, and when I kind of found all this information out, I was very unhappy with what things were going, and
he knew this was deceptive and wrong the entire time.
I'm not trying to ask for forgiveness. I'm not trying to hide this, but what would you guys like me to do? Because I want to do right by everyone involved on my side, and I want to absolve myself of this as best I can, and I know I can't. And, you know, you guys are some of the biggest creators in the space. When you guys will, whatever you guys will say, this is going to follow me for the rest of my life. And I just want to be able to do right by you guys and by my community and by my family at this point.
This is why it's not a good idea to just start a charity kind of willy-nilly and just not understand all the ins and outs of how it works, because when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars of other people's money, if things go wrong, it's going to be a big deal.
And I just want, you know, like, I literally am about to like donate all this money today, and prior to that, earlier this week and the week before, and I've just been sitting here crippled trying to figure out the best way to handle this, because I felt like if I donated the money the minute you guys emailed me, it'd be a situation of, well, he's trying to hide it and he's admitting guilt by doing that. And I never felt that way, but I understand completely that you guys could easily argue that, and it would just make me look more like a scumbag. And you know, I just want to, you know, I want to do right by you guys and what you think.
Even if I survive this somehow, even if this is like, people are like, well, whatever, that's how it is. it's gonna take the passion out of what I do. People aren't gonna trust me ever again.
I don't think that's, if he just said, hey, we made a mistake, we're going to go through this and figure out all the money that needs to be donated. I think people would say, hey, you know what? You made a mistake. Don't do it again. It's the fact that he's like doubling down is what's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, I think.
Again, I'm not going to trust myself ever again. And I'm just going to walk away from all this. Like, this is like me being like, great, so I'm out. Not just of content creation or being an online personality. I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna disappear and start over and never talk to anyone ever again.
The simple reality is that if we had not made the videos we did, that money would still be sitting in their bank account doing nothing to fight dementia.
It sounds like he's trying to guilt them into not releasing any more videos, saying that this is going to ruin his life, so don't release these videos.
And this leads me to what is the worst part of Gerard's video.
Let's start with the Open Hand Foundation's formation. When my mother passed away in 2013, we donated her brain and spinal cord to the same academics and doctors we worked with to further...
So many people were saying that he was a kid when this charity was started, and he didn't really have anything to do with the formation of it. I heard multiple people say that. He's 35 years old. The charity was started in 2013. Okay? That's roughly 10 years ago, which means he was around 25 years old. I don't know if you consider a 25-year-old a child. I mean, okay, I guess. If you do you, but I would consider that an adult, in my opinion. So yeah, I just don't know where this whole he was a kid when the charity was started thing came from.
For example, in 2022, Indieland raised over $100,000 according to the lead director of Indieland, Michael Barrity. I think this figure is especially trustworthy given that it's not coming from Gerard or anyone in his family. Jamie Lee Curtis also gave Openhand $25,000. Just those two sources alone is already way over the amount of revenue that Openhand declared for that year, which was just $117,000. The golf money is gone. And what's even crazier is that despite Openhand not getting any of that golf money, they still took money from other...
Do you think Jamie Lee Curtis would be cool with some of her $25,000 that she donated to charity being used to pay for security or rentals? Probably not.
Donations to pay for the golf event. Gerard ignores this completely and just tries to confuse everyone. He provides an audit from 2014, a year that no one cares about. He breaks down income and expenses from 2023, another year that no one cares about because we don't even have the tax filings yet. Almost everything in the video is completely void of purpose and is a huge waste of time. I'm not sure if Gerard is either too stupid to understand what we said or if he is intentionally being stupid in order to make this as confusing as possible. At the end of the video, Gerard gets angry, puffs out his chest, and attempts to scare me.
Furthermore, my family and I are in serious conversations with our legal teams regarding next steps, as the allegations that have been made with complete disregard for the truth of the matter. These allegations were made by individuals who self-admittedly aren't even financial or legal professionals. These allegations are slanderous, and we believe we're done with selfish intent.
What a pathetic bit.
He immediately removed this from the video. Within 24 hours, he cut the threats out of the end of the video.
The guy who lied to his fans for years, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money by misleading them, the guy who kept donations for a decade and only donated because he got caught, the guy who spent donations on himself, the guy who abused the trust of his friends and dragged them into this, the guy who jeopardized the financial security of all of his employees because of his sheer stupidity and greed, has the gall to threaten legal action. What an absolute buffoon. If Gerard or his family are stupid enough to go after me, I wish them the best of luck. The actions of Gerard are not the actions of a nice guy. He lies chronically, he has no respect for the property of his fans, he is manipulative, he disrespects his own mother who cannot speak for herself by constantly dragging her into this, he takes no responsibility for what he did, he blames everyone else for being too stupid and easily misled, and he attacks those that rightfully call him out for his shortcomings. And it seems like some of Gerard's friends don't mind if he commits a bit of charity fraud here or there either. They don't mind if he steals and lies and threatens life-changing legal action when he's the one at fault, they don't mind if Gerard takes objectively immoral action against others as long as he's pleasant and friendly to them. Because at the end of the day, as long as Gerard's nice to them, that's all they care about. That's where their moral compass leads them, directly back to themselves. And that's why if I damage Gerard, I damage them, and they hate me for it. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Gerard. This is about raising awareness that these types of people exist. There are people out there who don't care if people lie. They don't care if the audience is manipulated and abused, as long as they are within this small group who ultimately benefits. You need to be very wary of those who come with changing legal action when he's the one at fault. They don't mind if Gerard takes objectively immoral action against others as long as he's pleasant and friendly to them. Because at the end of the day, as long as Gerard's nice to them, that's all they care about. That's where their moral compass leads them, directly back to themselves. And that's why if I damage Gerard, I damage them, and they hate me for it. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Gerard. This is about raising awareness that these types of people exist. There are people out there who don't care if people lie. They don't care if the audience is manipulated and abused, as long as they are within this small group who ultimately benefits. You need to be very wary of those who come with a smile, because they are not always genuine. And if you are not careful, you will eventually fall victim.
Well, what do you guys think of the Completionist? I don't think he's a terrible person, but he definitely made a mistake. He needs to fix it, admit that he was wrong, and I don't know, that's about it. I don't think that he was truly doing all of it out of malice, but claiming ignorance isn't really the best argument. Like, you can't go out on the street and shoot someone and then say, well, I didn't know murder was illegal. They're gonna put you in jail anyway. Just like if you accidentally embezzle money or possibly, commit charity fraud, just because you didn't know that you were committing charity fraud, that doesn't give you like a free pass. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.